The Dane and Derek Show is an uncensored, unfiltered podcast. Content warnings can be found in the episode description.
Cool. How often do you do yoga?
I want to get up to 3 times a week, but right now it's been 2. I was supposed to start doing that like next week, or last week, but I got pretty sick, so I was just like down for the count. But yeah,
But that's awesome though.
yeah, it's been really good. Because I haven't been able to like find like a gym situation that I like. It's really nice to have like a class and like an instructor to like kind of keep you honest and guide you through stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like shut down. It doesn't shut down my day, even when it's like really hard. Like it was really hard today, but it doesn't like completely. Like I remember, like when I was doing more like climbing. If I went really hard, I was like, oh fuck! Like the next 3 days, I could barely lift anything, couldn't drive, like all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's just nice on the body, honestly.
Yeah.
When I go back to school in the fall, I definitely want to like get a little bit of lifting in there, just to sort of like build up that strength that yoga doesn't really do. Like it does a lot for like there's kind of like 2 types. Like it doesn't do much for you like moving a ton of like weight beyond your body weight, but it's like great for like because like you're holding positions for like really really long periods of time that are ask a lot of your body. But yeah, so I just want to get all of that, and then I'd really like to get back into hiking, but here we are one step at a time.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a good pre-show chat leading into today's topic. But real quick, for those listeners that have dropped in on our conversation about Dane's yoga, welcome back, everyone, to Dane and Derek. I'm Derek, and you know by now that I make movies and play a lot of tabletop games and sometimes play sports. Joining me today is my good friend, Dane.
Hey, I'm Dane, writer, podcaster, musician. I probably need to update this intro a little bit. But yeah, I also did sports on and off for quite some time.
Yeah, I would say we were both. I'd say probably you were more athletic. I don't know. I don't know what defines more athletic because we both did very different sports. Yeah.
Let me think about. I would say this. I did much more traditional, like I don't know. It's hard to say. Like of between the two of us, I did the more traditional sport, which was competitive swimming. Then you did a lot more of. You went to tournaments and stuff when you were really big into martial arts, right?
Yeah, I would compete and stuff.
Right, but that's not like the point of martial arts, really, is it?
No, it's not. It's
despite what Karate Kid will tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Despite what a lot of karate adjacent media will say, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that, but that does kind of go for all like sports movies, right? Like the best football movies, right, are not about the game, right?
Oh yeah, well that's because
you know what I mean.
Because they're telling a story, right? Like it's hard for it to be really, really about the game. Though some sports animes get really close to being like super about the game. So like swimming, like consistent practice, and the point was to race and win and cut time and stuff.
Right.
And then later in high school, I played ultimate frisbee, which not a traditional sport really by any stretch of the imagination, but like we played regular games and went to tournaments, and it was about playing on a team and winning, right?
Yeah.
So like, but yeah, like I also don't know how much I would like to find that as like being athletic, because ballet, for example, objectively not a sport or a competition really of any kind. But
it's incredibly athletic.
Holy shit, those people! Like, have you seen those people? Like, my God, they are just cut. Like, holy shit.
Mhm.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
so maybe let's reframe. Let's just talk about sports that we've participated in, we'd enjoy observing, and I guess we can kind of start with traditional and kind of branch out to more non-traditional, um, like I don't know, like cheerleading is a sport, but
well,
you know what
okay,
I mean.
okay, I have kind of like a hot take.
Oh, okay.
And also just like I just want to like define this. So for me, there are three types of things. There are competitions, there are games, and then there are sports. And
Okay.
I am about to make some people mad by saying this.
Okay.
Um, a sport is a competitive like physical act with an objective winner without
Mm.
particularly arbitrary rules. Of course, there's always overlap between all this shit, of course, right? But like running a marathon is about who ran the farthest, the fastest, right? Like they who
Yeah.
ran this particular length the fastest.
Right.
There's an objective winner. There's no point system. There's no like there can be some, but it's like if you think about like the traditional Olympic sports, it's like foot races and throwing shit really far and jumping high, right? Like it's a competition
Yeah.
of just like the physicality.
Right.
Um and I mean like it gets more complicated when you get into like something like cycling, which on some level is a lot like foot racing, but on the other hand with like the bikes and like what are the rules about what kind of
Mhm.
bikes they can ride and stuff, right? Gets a little
Right.
more complicated there, but like basically that's what I think of when of a sport. A game can be very athletic, uh, but a game tends to have like arbitrary rules. Baseball
Mm.
is a game. It's ridiculous. Why do they have to run in a diamond? I don't know. Why object the ball went into the crowd but over this particular line so it doesn't count, and in fact they're mostly penalized for it. Like football is a game, basketball is a game, like hockey, all of these things. And then there are competitions which are judged. So that's your gymnastics, your figure
Mm.
skating, like your like
Your
some
martial arts, your cheerleading.
yeah. Stuff that
Okay.
can be ridiculously athletic. I don't think it gets more athletic than gymnastic. In my brain, it's not a sport though, because there's no objective winner. How can you like seriously, like tell me, how is there an objective winner? Um
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right in the sense of but going by your definition, there is no objective winner because everyone competes on their own against themselves.
right, and everybody doesn't do the same routines. Like it's
Right.
judged, and like honestly, you can often tell. Like I was watching the Olympics this past year. Um and I watched a lot of snowboarding for some reason. But anyways, I like you could kind of tell who was in like the top, definitely in like the top like 10, 15, 20%. Like you could be like, yeah, those people clearly are doing way better than the rest. But at like
Mm.
the top 3, it's like I don't know, man. Like there's some really minor differences going on at this point, right? Like and with that,
Gotcha.
it was like some people went higher, but the person who went the highest definitely didn't win. Like, um, so I when we're talking about sports, I'm sure it's going to be loose in like what we're really talking about. Because when most people like, especially in America, when they say sports, they basically mean football, basketball, baseball, maybe hockey, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The big four, the four seasonal sports.
Yeah, yeah.
That everyone goes to the bar for, or goes to the stadium for, or has a jersey of.
Yeah. And I mean, like outside of the United States, it's soccer basically. It's football.
Yeah,
Like,
football.
and then there's everything else. But yeah.
Hmm.
As far as those go though, I barely interacted with those. Um,
Okay.
Tiny bit, little bit of soccer, tiny bit of baseball. Um, but baseball is like the one sport I look forward to like seeing. Like I don't watch it on I don't watch basically any sports on TV or follow
Hmm.
them, but I love going to a baseball game. Like that's just like a nice
Oh,
afternoon. Um,
wow. Interesting. It's been so long since I've been to a baseball game, but I remember dreading going to baseball games.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's the like I think it's because the two let's see. I've been to basketball games, I've been to hockey games, and I've been to baseball games live. And of those three, I like hockey the most, seeing it live. And I think
Hmm.
it's because like soccer, there's so much tension on the field because you know that they're only going to score 1 or 2 points and that'll make the game. Uh,
True. True.
Whereas like baseball and basketball, it seems to be like an infinite number of points up until like the last 30 minutes or last 10 minutes even. Um, and I don't know. I think like, especially for me, like I'm not a big fan of stadium food.
Oh,
like,
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know if you have like a stadium meal that you like.
Oh, honestly, I don't have like a particular one, but stadium food is terrible but tasty. I'm like I don't like it outside of the stadium. It's one of those sorts of things.
Right.
But I do like it. And so for me, a baseball game is like garbage food. I'm outside with people I like, and the game is slow paced enough that I can follow it without
Mm.
needing to be like kind of a master, and like I can actually get into like the statistics which usually go up on the board, and like following like everything from like the errors to their batting averages, and like um baseball more than um basketball or soccer or hockey is way more of a game, like on that spectrum between like if sports are at one end and like competitions are at the other and games are kind of in the middle. um Hockey and soccer and basketball kind of lean a little more into towards the sports for me, because it's like the motion is pretty constant. Like whereas like football and baseball, there's this like stop and start. It's almost like they have turns. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so like with baseball, like it's really nice to enjoy. And then there's the other side of it, which is uh maybe this is just because we're in I'm in Colorado and the Rockies suck, but like it's not that intense
Yeah.
at Coors Field. Um like I don't like being um in like a hockey game or a lacrosse game or like a basketball game because like the noise gets to me, and like just like the slight
Mm.
claustrophobic. Like I do not like that feeling, that energy.
Yeah.
Um and baseball is relaxed enough. I went to a Rapids game once, and
Ooh.
that had a similar vibe. And I think it might be entirely because it's just not a not all that
Yeah.
popular here.
Yeah. Not a lot of people play for the Rapids or go to the Rapids here in
No,
Colorado.
I'm not even sure they're still around. But yeah, and honestly, I'll say this: I have never been to a professional football game.
Same. I've never
Um,
been, and I don't know if I'll ever want to go to a professional football game because
I have no desire to.
for
None.
me, it's completely about the fact that it's designed for a televised experience.
Mm.
Like I don't think watching a football game would be very entertaining compared to, and I could be completely wrong. Like I know plenty of people that have gone to football games and have said it's different, but I don't know. Like I feel like on the TV you really get a view of it. It's exhilarating watching it on TV. Um, but I feel like in the stadium it must be hard to watch. Like depending on where you're sitting,
Yeah.
because they move one way and the other way. It's not so back and forth like hockey or basketball where it doesn't matter if they're down on the other team's like net. They'll be back up your end pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
or like baseball where like doesn't really matter where you sit, like there's a handful of good places to sit, but it doesn't really matter. You're still
Yeah,
going to get a great view of the game.
there are better places to sit, but as long
Yeah,
as you can like see the diamond and everything, like you're doing good.
exactly. So I think that's why I personally am like not as, I guess, like motivated to go see a live football game.
Mm-hmm.
It's because like I like the televised experience, and I think it's designed for it now. I would probably get so I'd probably be watching the giant jumbotron more than I'd be watching them down on the field, and that's the last thing I want at any live sports event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been to D2 college football games.
Okay.
And that's a thing that happened. Yeah, that's because my college team was garbage, like garbage.
I mean,
Like
we didn't
even
even have a
for
football team.
like even for D2, they were bad.
Oh man.
And yeah, so that
What was
I'd
your
have no.
mascot?
It's a skyhawk, a non-existent bird.
Fort Lewis Skyhawks. Oh, that's kind
Yep.
of cool. That's got a nice
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah.
Do you have like
Um,
a sign that you all flash or a call sign you all do at games?
no, because we were so bad.
Oh, okay.
There's none of that.
So it's not like Skyhawks. Caw, caw.
No.
Uh,
Now the Fort Lewis, the one sports team that was really good at Fort Lewis was um the mountain biking team. They're typically the best in the country.
it makes sense because you're right there against the mountains in Durango.
Yep. Really good spot for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe I'll get roped into going to a college game when I'm at CU.
I mean, the CU's fun. That's a good stadium. You can get a pretty good angle, and it's college football. The game's a lot faster.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I mean, the last time I saw CU play, they lost like 100-0 or something. So
yeah, they're not good.
They're not great, but in my heart, I will always root for them.
Well, that's sweet
Fuck
of
you,
you.
CSU.
Okay, all right, fair. I don't know.
I will never root for the Rams. I'm sorry to any Rams fans listening to the show. I'm sorry, Robert, because I think you go there.
He lived near there. I think he was it. No, Logan was the big Rams fan.
Yeah,
because his parents both went, and
yeah, I'm not
his
a
sister
Rams
went.
fan. And it's purely because I think growing up in the Boulder area.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I have no connection to CU Boulder. But
see,
there
for
is
me,
pride I take in it.
the big rivalry from like me growing up was actually the Utes and BYU from when I lived in Utah.
Oh yeah.
That shit was like, holy crap! Like kids, like 8, 9, 10, like almost getting into little fist fights on the playground over the game on game. Like that's like a real like Yankees Red Sox sort of rivalry. Like
Yeah.
the culture's there, the teams are typically good enough. Like, but that aside, how do you feel about sports on the whole? Like, you and I live in what I would describe as like the art nerd culture, basically. Like
Yeah.
that's where you and I tend to spend most of our time. And sports get a pretty bad rap from our culture. Like, like how many times have you heard like people make fun of like dumb jocks and stuff?
Oh yeah, all
you
the
know?
time. Yeah. And I mean it's I mean in a way like calling this episode Sportsball, right? That
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
a
yeah,
joke from that world.
Mhm.
Because nobody knows how to play sports, so it's just Sportsball. It's everything. It's
Yeah.
unanimous.
Yeah, when I think of sports ball, that's usually me thinking about myself not knowing anything. Like I know nothing about what's going on with sports, like ever. I went to a baseball game pretty recently with Gracie, and um, on the way up, she got on a phone with her aunt, and her aunt was like, what are you doing today?" And she was like, "Gracie or Dane and I are going to the baseball game." And she's like, "Oh, is Dane a baseball fan?" And Gracie said, "When he comes with me, he is," and like that's the truth. Like I don't know anything. So when I think of like sports ball, for me, I'm just like, that's just me thinking of myself lost watching like college football around Thanksgiving with Gracie's brothers, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. But yeah, I think it gets kind of maligned a lot as dumb or not having a lot of intrinsic value.
Yes. I think
yeah.
there's definitely like if on the flip side, right, if quote unquote proverbial jocks view art as being lame and not cool and only for kids that are like dumb. It's the same that goes for artsy kids that view sports as dumb, only for people that can't do anything with their brains.
Yeah, it often.
And
Yeah,
I
keep
think
going.
that both are very wrong, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a tremendous amount of intelligence to do anything, period, especially sports.
Yeah, no, it's a very different sort of intelligence. It's
Yes.
not necessarily like, yeah, it's not like the quite like the generative
It's not like
intelligence it
you're
requires to like paint something from
Yeah,
your imagination, but like thinking about where you need to be on the field, then making your body do that fast enough.
Yes.
That's tough, and
it's an instinctual intelligence that I think
it requires you to train it into yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that said, though, I think there's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, right? Is like there's a lot of crossover for arts and sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think a lot about how, like, in the arts community, like a lot of people get injured because they don't properly like warm up their like body to like paint or to like get onto set and lift something heavily,
Mm-hmm.
And I
Absolutely.
think like there's a lot of crossover where that can be helpful, right? Just as much as like there's a lot of crossover for like when you're in sports of like doing something creative, right? Like let's draw an analogy to the samurai of old,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
To be a great warrior, they also had to be a great scholar and artist. And I think that is true, right? Of anything.
Yeah.
You have to have a little bit of that, right? Like
I'm reminded of my mom. My mom has danced ballet for a really long time, and she used to, or maybe she still does, go to a particular dance studio out in Denver, and like football players from like the
yeah.
Denver Broncos would go for classes
Yeah.
to work on like flexibility and stuff. Like there's a ton of overlap, and I think a lot of like the negative feelings come from as a result of people treating each other poorly, kind of on both sides, right? Like don't get me
Definitely.
wrong, like there's the stereotype, right, of the jocks kind of ruling the school and like picking on nerd, right, like there's that like
Right, yeah.
stereotype, but also you got to point out that like the kids who potentially like routinely get very good grades or make beautiful music or whatever routinely call these people idiots to their
Yes.
face, right? Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
also shit, and the culture's very different now, I
Yeah.
would say. So like, and it's never been that, it was never that like black and white anyways. That was like a creation of
It's a
TV,
creation of
movies.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
for as much truth as there was in it, there was also not that much, right? Like,
Yeah, I
um,
mean,
so
where we went to school, it was very much out of a movie in that regard. But that didn't mean
yeah,
that what it was, but like it still wasn't entirely,
there was a lot of
you know.
clean divisions in high school. I remember,
Yes.
like, it was very clear, like these are some jocks, but like,
Yeah.
and like these are the
Like these
theater
are the
kids,
athletes.
yeah,
Yep.
and like,
These are the theater kids, the band kids.
but it wasn't really that hostile at our high school.
No.
And
No.
I also would wager that has a lot to do with a certain amount of affluence, and stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Um,
Also just the fact that like the football team was very much supported by the school,
yeah,
Like we
the
got that
football
new
team,
field.
yeah, and they were good when we were in
Yeah,
high
we had
school.
one of the best in the state.
Yeah, we were actually really good.
They won state when we were in high school.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
Yeah, that was a huge thing.
but in the same hand, we had one of the best jazz bands
In the
um
state as well.
in the state as well. Like
Yeah.
Monarch was weirdly balanced, which is like cool,
It's
and
yeah.
Monarch has lots of problems though, but so like
It's
not
funny, yeah,
trying to.
because Monarch has a stigma. Like the other schools have a stigma against Monarch
Oh
for
yeah, I think it's
being
well
like,
earned.
yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know, like the stigma. I remember going into it was like Monarch is the school where all like the non-intelligent like kids go. It's where all like the kids that are going to do drugs go.
Partiers. It was the
Yeah,
party
the
school.
partiers.
And
Which
so
is like it's still kind of true, but
yeah, I'm just, well, actually Eliza's there now. It's super true still.
oh man,
anyways, but long story short, kind of what I'm saying is just like Monarch has plenty of faults.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't one of them when we were there. I guess what I'm
Yeah.
kind of just saying is like you're right. There's a balance to all of these things, and they're not actually mutually exclusive. Like I've
Correct.
never been interested in following organized sports, and I've never really
Mm-hmm.
fully understood like I've never understood like the like wanting to like understand every player and like follow the draft and all this stuff. Like I was like, I don't get this at all. This does not interest me at all. But on the other hand, you know what I do a lot? I dig into like stats of imaginary dragons. Um,
Yeah.
and I find that these things are both about as realistically they matter about the same amount. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like how you know how the college like the draft from from college football into the NFL that matters about as much as like the new set of Magic the Gathering in terms of like a fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same thing. It's arbitrary. It's not really important. It's a hobby, and that is really cool. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's something that I try more and more to be appreciative of is the range of like interests that people have and respecting that even if I don't get it, even if I'm not interested in it, and even if I like do not want anything to do with it, you know, like
Yeah.
and you know like because the truth is I will admit to have been like kind of the anti-sports dude in the past, like
Mm-hmm.
um and you know I have a lot of problems with like certain cultures, like the tailgating culture that
Mm.
uh, and like the sort of like intersection between college sports and fraternities, the Greek system that can be really problematic. The way in
Yeah.
which the college system exploits athletes, particularly athletes of color,
Yes.
also huge problem. Like there's all of that. And then there's the people who go play pickup football on the weekend, right?
Right.
And the
Yeah.
people who go do that, I have like nothing against them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, yeah. Some of the best times I had in high school where my dad, brother, and I would run chain gang for a semi-pro team in the like in league in the Denver area.
oh, nice.
And we would just like watch these guys who like, they come from all walks, right? Like some of them had played in the NFL, some of them hadn't. Some of them were like college kids trying to boost their stats,
Yeah.
so they could get into a better program. Or some of them just really like playing football.
Mhm.
Um, and like it was like really cool just to see these guys like enjoy themselves. Like they just really loved playing the game. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think like the important thing, right? Like I think like at its core, right? It's people who love something doing something, right? Like
Right.
just like anything else.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when you kind of build, and then like as these things kind of progress, they kind of build these walls and these little sort of like pockets of like, oh yeah, it's like this thing, that thing, and some of these things are really bad, some of these things are really good, and it kind of spreads and spreads. And same goes for anything, really.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, truly, um, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, pickup sports are a lot of fun. I was considering picking up. Like Trevor invited me to come join his ultimate league.
Oh, you should
And
do
I'm
it. It's
terrible at
fun.
frisbee,
Oh,
but
that's fine.
yeah, that and then also another friend of mine invited me to play rugby, and I was like, "Ooh, that could also be fun."
That could
Um,
be fun. That will fuck
it
you up a
would be
bit.
yes, but,
Um,
so maybe frisbee, but we'll see.
Frisbee
Um,
can also super fuck you up, honestly. Like
yeah,
people break
which
their collarbones playing Frisbee all the time.
I can imagine because they're diving and landing on their elbows and stuff,
Yeah,
and
there's not like padding or anything, and
yeah,
um people get really into it. But yeah, no, I think that there's a lot to love in sports, and like anything else, as you like put more money into it and you put more like pressure on it and like all of it, it starts having some dark sides,
yeah,
right? Like, like let's not like there like man, there are some like really toxic sides of the art world, right? Like
oh yeah,
that's not even not even close. It's horrible. But I
Mhm.
guess what I'm just saying is, it's not my realm by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a lot of respect for it. And I have a lot of fascination, particularly with smaller sports, stuff like rugby, which outside of the United States is significantly less niche, of course.
Mhm.
Um, like honestly, the thing that I am like least interested in sports wise is the big four. Like I
Right.
everything else is far more interesting to me. Like the Tour de France fascinates me.
Mm.
Like just all these other things. Like I've never watched cricket beyond like a few like snippets and plays, and every time I'm like, how does this fucking work? What is this? This is
Mm.
I have no grasp of this game. Uh but it's fascinating, and like I, I don't know. I like seeing people do amazing things.
Yeah.
Um and I will say this in regards to like sports, and this is just kind of getting into more like athleticism and health. Um, I think really really important to be not athletic necessarily, but to use your body. Like in this country, we on the whole are not good about that. Like we
Yeah.
are not good about taking care of our physical selves. Um, and I find that like often you know, quote unquote intellectuals will let that slide by the wayside because they put
Oh
so
yeah.
much more value on the intellectual side of things. And I often think like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like your body is a whole thing. Your brain is not separate from it. Like taking care
Right.
of, believe it or not, taking care of your biceps might actually help you think of things better.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I always feel way more creative after I've been like had a very physical week. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and to kind of go with that, I think sports both instill uh they do a very good job instilling like a love of like moving your body and doing stuff and having fun with it and all that good stuff. But I think something that kind of sucks is then it stops. Do you know what I mean? Like as an
Mm.
adult, like it's much harder to like get your exercise through sporting, which is kind of how we teach ourselves as young people to do, right? Like
Yeah.
as an adult, like you're supposed to like to take care of your body, you're supposed to like go to the gym or take a yoga class or da da da. Or like it's not. Oh, I joined like a local soccer league and we practice 3 times a week and have a game on Saturday. Like right? And I find that
Yeah.
people often get lost sometimes when they were like really athletic in their youth, and then like they can't stick with the gym. They don't. It's not what they want because like
Yeah,
they
no.
want like a coach and they want like a team. They don't want to be doing it alone. Like I think that's really. I wish there was more of that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. Like going to the gym is like so like I can do it for maybe like 2 weeks and then I kind of fall off of it.
Hmm.
Um I'm the environment is very lonely. And I
Yeah.
think like that team building element of sports I think is really criminally underrated, right? Like it's talked about, but having that camaraderie,
Hmm.
knowing that you're in the sweat in the mud with other folks, it's a lot of I think it really does it strips away some of the fanfare that comes with sports and puts it back to what it is, which is just, you know, like utilizing your body in a way that you didn't think was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have that like struggle. Like I didn't because I was a swimmer, and being a
Yeah.
swimmer, even on a team, is not a huge camaraderie deal. Like the practices are mostly silent, right? Like
Yeah.
there's just the sound of the water, and it's muffled, and you're not talking with people, and it's all about yourself. So like transitioning to going to the gym or like was really easy. And I played Ultimate Frisbee and it was fun, but it was definitely just sort of a lark. And like, I didn't really dig into like the team stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now when I'm like doing yoga or going to the gym or whatnot, it's much easier for me to be just like, I'm just here. And I've like I fell in love with moving my body. I never liked competition.
Yeah.
I honestly, I hated competition. I hated the way it sucked my weekends away. I didn't like doing it. I didn't
Yeah.
like the stress. Nothing about a competition was fun for me. Loved practice though.
Mm-hmm.
And then up until the point at which the demand for such regular practice became so intense that I was just like, I don't really want to do this. Like I don't want to lose all my time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That is the thing, right? It's all a delicate balance of time, your body, your brain, and like, the how tired you can make yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember that it was hard to let go of, but it was a really good choice, you know?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, we should catch a baseball game sometime.
That'd be fun. Maybe
Yeah.
next time I'm out in LA we can go to a Dodgers game.
That would be cool. I've yet to go to Dodgers Stadium.
Really? Man, I've been to Dodger
Yeah.
Stadium a bunch now. Gracie's a huge fan of the Dodgers, as is her mom
Right.
and her
I mean,
brother.
that tracks.
Like most times we go out, and if they're playing, we're going.
Yeah, I just like I said, I'm not that big a fan of going to baseball games. So like even when I lived in Boston for 4 years, I never went to Fenway Stadium.
Wow, that's actually that's damn near un-American. God damn it, Derek, get it together.
I know. It's a
Yeah.
crime.
It's
but
a crime. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can catch me next time, I guess, and then cuff me and drag me to a game. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that joke.
Oh, if I tell Gracie that you've been in, how long have you been in LA now?
4 years
4 years?
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you haven't, I'll tell Gracie, and the next time we're out, she'll drag you there.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yep.
That's the other thing about sports. I'm obnoxious at sports games. If
I
I get
believe
into it, it's just like those pep rallies in high school, man. I
Yep.
scream, and it's
You
bad.
get caught up in the crowd. You get caught up in the
Yeah.
crowd.
Yep.
I do not.
Yeah.
I absolutely do not.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I gotta say, real quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of just, I went and watched professional golf in person once.
Oh, man,
That
really?
was weird.
Ugh.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, I'm like this. Like, I was like, this is dumb. Like you're talking about like something that like you're talking about like with football, where it's like this is designed for TV. I'm like what are you gonna like? You follow like the best thing you can do is like you can pick a couple of players and you can follow them around. But it's like weird, right? Like it's like they hit it and it goes and it lands somewhere, and maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. You definitely don't have their perspective. And then we walk to the next one, and yeah, it's like I was like, this is, and like the food there, not good.
Ugh.
Yeah, I remember not having fun there. But
Yeah,
outside of spending time with like my dad and my grandfather, like that was like a good thing. But like the actual, like I was like, I'm getting nothing out of the actual event.
I think it depends on the people you're with, because I hate golf. I hate playing golf, and I don't really enjoy watching it. But the handful of times I have played it, when I've played it with friends, it's been a lot better.
You're just hanging out with people. Like that's
Yeah.
like golf is
Yeah.
like one of those things where I'm like, this is an excuse to hang with people. Like, like
Yeah.
it's an excuse to take like 8 hours out of a day to just do a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. I'm
Sometimes I
terrible at
think
golf, and I hate golf.
fair.
Mini golf too. I don't like mini golf.
You don't like mini golf?
I
I actually like mini golf.
I fucking hate mini golf.
All right, noted. We won't mini golf.
If we're gonna go mini golfing, I will be in the arcade while the rest of you go mini golfing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be in the arcade too, but that's just
Yeah.
because I like video games.
Or if
Sometimes
there's
I
a
feel like-
go-karting place at the mini golf place, I'll be at
Yeah.
the go-karting
I
station.
hate go-karts, actually.
Okay, well then there
And
you
they'll-
go. You can go mini golf and
Yeah.
I can go go-karting.
And then we'll go to the arcade. It'll be great.
Yeah, and then we'll go to the
great.
arcade and it'll be okay
Yeah,
afterwards.
we just need to make sure we bring other people to like
Yes.
someone who wants to go kart with you and someone who will mini golf with me. It'll be great.
There we go.
It'll be great. I love
Next time.
arcades. I wish that they were like more of a thing. Anyways, that's a completely different topic. We
Yes.
went long on this episode.
We did, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But hey, there's a lot of sports that have longer run times than this. So
Oh yes.
yeah.
Except
Thank
for like
you all
rugby
listening.
sevens. Rugby sevens was actually really fun to watch because it's so
Oh.
short. You can like watch a whole
Good to
tournament
know.
in a day. It's rad. Anyways,
Wow.
sorry. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. It's super cool.
Good to know. Well,
yeah.
well, folks, thank you all for listening to us talk about sports for 40-something minutes.
We were bad at it.
Yeah, we were very bad at it.
No commentary.
Yeah. Tweet at us if you want us to talk more about sports, I guess.
If you do, I want to know why.
Yeah, I'd be very curious. You can follow the show at Dane and Derek. That's where you can tweet or Insta at us to talk about sports. And you can see what movies I'm watching on letterboxd.com/Benig-Aiello because I'm using my Letterboxd more often these days.
By the way, Derek, by the time this comes out, at least some of your movies will be shown, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So-
I think.
I have just a question. Is
Mhm.
there somewhere that people can watch those online? Or
Uh,
are they being kind of kept out of there until you're done with your circuit with them?
Yeah, so one of them will be available online.
Okay.
And that'll be Heroes Pizza. It'll be online on May 15th after its premiere in Los Angeles at New Filmmakers LA
Awesome.
on May 14th. So if you're not in LA, you could see it on the internet subsequently afterwards.
Link in the description, maybe?
Yeah, link in the description.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm Dane. You can find everything I do at danewrites.com. Yeah, you can find my
Yeah.
Substack where I've got some writing up, podcast, Diceology, which is both kind of at an end and also not at all. Like, there's no more new content, but we're re-releasing an older show on the same feed. So go check that out. If you're right about the time this is dropping, we will have just started some stuff. It's all good and fun, and I'm still really proud of all the content on there. So give it a listen. And there's also some music out there.
Yeah. That'll be great.
Yeah.
You make good music. Alrighty, thanks for hanging out with us. We will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.